Everything seems to be working. I don't know, girl. I haven't done this in a while. Okay, so if you've been here before, it's been a while since you've seen me. Hold on. You might not recognize me. It's me. No. Anyways, this is so unserious. So some of you might be shocked or confused. You may be like, where have you been? Things look different. You may feel really hurt and like, I will address that, but we have something more important to cover. The pilot. We are gonna do a script reading of the current progress on the Under the Veil pilot. I haven't made a video in a while, but I felt like recording, so I thought, why am I scrolling this far? I can literally just click. Yeah, I don't know. This wasn't planned, so this might be crazy. So buckle in, we're doing the script. Just as a quick overview, I've been working on the pilot for about a month, I would say. I started around September, just plotting the scenes and stuff like that. I've had all of this done for a while, and like I had some clarifications to do just for myself. All of that's been done for a minute. I started on this a couple weeks ago, and I was stuck on it for a little while, but I figured I have to keep moving if I really want this to be done. Currently, I have my timeline set for the end of December for the final script. I'm currently just working on the first draft. I want the first draft. Fingers crossed, like end of November if I keep the pace with my current work, but I don't know. I need to blow my nose. I'm really congested, and then we'll start. The weather is changing. This is my mini legend. I might add or take to it just so that I can keep it in my head for when I have to draw. Again, this is a very draft script. I'm almost embarrassed reading it actually, but this is it's for the catalog. So in like this pinkish color, it means new character. Orange, object or inventory, and yellow, signage or background. Do you think I should take a Tylenol? I think I would literally take a Tylenol. I'm so congested. Hold on, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna hope that I'm in frame. I want to make short videos. I really do. So, first of all, we're gonna start with something that's not even written yet. There's gonna be a cold open at the beginning of the episode. It's gonna be, I'm probably gonna be referring back to my outline a lot. So it's gonna be around here where he finds the device or whatever, and he's like running away from the estate. If you don't know the tea about the story, girl, read the pitch Bible. I don't even know. Back to the script. We have to start, guys. I really want to make this a short video. I want to make this easy to edit so I can upload this. Okay, so Act 1. Interior, CAO Monama's room, early morning. While I'm editing, I'll put a photo up of it here, what Monama's room looks like. I already sketched it out. Anyways, let's try and get through this, guys. We're trying to do fast. Establishing shot of the sun shining through Monama's bedroom window. The shot lingers on Monama's clock with the time as 5:59. When it changes to 6 o'clock, a loud alarm sounds. Monama sits up, hitting his head on the low roof of his room, and he says, ow. Basically, this is just the intro shot. You're gonna notice there's a lot of like times in the script just because I want to know when everything happens. Like in the actual show, the time is probably not gonna be like, it'll be like put up on the screen somewhere or like focused on in the shot, you know what I mean? Anyways, Maruo winces. You can hear the groans of the other auditors through the thin walls of the door, and he fumbles to press a button on the clock. He stretches out briefly before grabbing his glasses from beside him. He immediately reaches for his journal. All of the words that are capitalized are just things that I'm gonna have to draw out and later. We see some of the pages Monoma flips through, all of which have numerous tally marks next to mundane activities. Monoma reaches the page from the previous day. We see a close-up shot of his eyes scanning the page, and then the words IGM equals 37. This isn't like a set in stone thing. It's just something I needed as a placeholder for what the score for the previous day was. This is not a real number. Not really important. Anyways, circled in red ink. Monoma flips to the next page, close up as he clicks a pen. He writes the date and the following phrase: hit head on ceiling again, disturb the peace again, -1. Monoma groans, closing the journal and falling backwards onto his pillow. We cut to Monoma doing his stretches. He reaches over on his left side, stretching his arm, and he stands on one leg. He counts 2, 3, 4. We see him sitting on the floor. He gives a slight grunt as he shakily reaches to touch his toes. We see cut to him grabbing his towel and his toothbrush. We hear the door closing after a shot of him passing by the clock whose time reads 6:15. Guys, I know this feels a little bit tedious right now, but I promise it's all for a reason, and it's gonna go faster in the show. Guys, I promise it's not gonna be this tedious. I'm gonna edit the script. We see a brief shot of Monoma closing his room door and creeping through the hall. He peers into an Auditor Pansy and Auditor Yasuo's room. We can see them snoring in their bunks. Monoma moves on. Interior CEO bathroom. Monoma creeps into the bathroom. He winces due to the door creaking as it opens and shuts. We see him hanging up his towel and taking off his shirt slightly out of frame. We hear him humming You Are My Sunshine quietly as he places his glasses on the sink. The tune continues over the sound of the running water and a shot of Monoma pumping soap into his hands. He lathers his hair. We see Monoma's feet as the soap runs into the shower drain. The water stops and he grabs his towel. Shot is on Monoma's glasses, but we can see him unfocused stepping out of the shower with a towel around his waist. He just sighs. There's not much dialogue, guys, so I'm gonna have to pay voice act. So I really try to keep dialogue short, except for Monoma's VA. Whoever you are, I don't know who you are yet, but I love you. Anyways, we cut to Monoma, another towel on head, brushing his teeth. He gargles the water and spits it out. He then takes a brush to his hair, attempting to comb out the curls with some struggle. He scrunches up his nose in the mirror, makes a face as he attempts to style it. Another cut to Monoma with his hairbrush in his hand like a microphone. I, Monoma Osaki, hereby accept this auditor's pledge to honorably audit Arkvale, to dutifully serve its noble leaders, as well as dedicate myself to ensuring the lumen that brings forth magic to this world is used ethically and properly by all for as long as I serve under the CAO. This was a very impromptu auditor's pledge. I don't know if this is the real pledge, but he says the pledge. We see Monoma splash his face with water. He looks proud of himself as he nods in the mirror, recite the auditor's pledge perfectly again, +1. As he exits the bathroom, we see the clock read 6:30. Interior CAO Monoma's room. We see a shot of Monoma's drawers as he collects articles of clothing for his uniform. He begins ironing on his bed. We get to his head popping out of his shirt as he puts it on. He stumbles into his pants, hopping in one leg at a time. No, I was correct. He carefully buttons his vest. He then sits on his bed and puts on his socks. He struggles with the fingers on his gloves for a second. Afterwards, he grabs his journal and buckles his leg holster before putting the book inside. Monoma walks to the mirror and finishes with his bow tie. We see him staring at himself in the mirror. He nods satisfied and takes out his journal. We see a wide shot of Monoma standing in his room writing. Looking good for work, +1. He looks over at the clock, which reads 7 o'clock, still on schedule. He closes the book and tucks it away, grabs his satchel, and leaves the dorm, closing his door behind him. Okay, it is at this point that I'm going to pause and check if I'm still recording because OBS is a bitch. Okay. Ooh. Oh my god, why did she reload? Diva. My computer went through a mechanical mishap the other month, which involved water, and like I recently just opened it up and like it just started working. So I was like, I'm just gonna take my blessings when they come. So like it is possible that like my computer might like nuke itself completely. So send prayers for me because we got some shit to read. There's a lot of pages, guys. Interior CAO kitchen. We see Monoma coming down the CAO stairs, careful yet chipper. He walks into the small kitchen and opens the fridge. We see a shot of Monoma from inside the fridge, face peering in. Excuse me. He grabs a lunchbox and then closes it. He shuffles through his satchel and grabs his keys. He attempts to close the door, but it too creaks and his keys jingle as he locks the front door. He lingers in front of the door and pats his pockets, double checking that he has everything. Exterior CAO path, early morning. Monoma takes a short walk from his dorm to the CAO office. Despite the sun's just barely rising over Arkvale, it seems like it's a nice day outside. He walks along a clearly marked path surrounded by grass and shrubbery. There are virtually no other people or creatures around to be heard. It's quiet except for Monoma's minimal humming. It's 7:10 when he arrives. Exterior CAO building, morning. This is also one of the notes that I leave for myself in the doc. I have a few of them. It just helps me when I'm writing. We briefly see the sign that tells us the CAO's hours as Monoma sits on the stairs in front of the doors and opens his lunchbox. The CAO does not open for another half hour. He pulls out one of 2 packed sandwiches and a thermos which he pours tea out of. He sets his food to one side and then shuffles through his satchel and pulls a book out of his bag entitled Magic for Dummies. He skips to a page with a bookmark and many sticky notes. Monoma pulls out a pen and begins note-taking. We linger on a shot of Monoma eating his breakfast and reading this book for a while, until at 8 o'clock he gets up and peers into the office doors. It's still dark inside the office, but as he presses his ear to the door, Monoma can hear faint shuffling and clinking sounds from inside. Rayburn? Rayburn! He gently knocks until Auditor Rayburn unlocks the door from inside. Compared to the... Oh, I'm going to put a little picture of him over here. Compared to the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Monoma, the older man looks tired and disheveled. He blocks the doorway slightly as he leans on the frame. Monoma looks up at him and smiles. Good morning, Rayburn. He pinches the bridge of his nose slightly. Despite seemingly expecting Monoma, he grunts gruffly before stepping to the side. Rayburn, early as ever, kid. Guys, please, can you guys not criticize my cringy dialogue? It's the first draft. Interior CAO hallway. Rayburn's tone flies over Monoma's head as he steps inside the office, walking to his cubicle and setting his things down. I made a note. He turns on his own personal lamp instead of the big lights as to not disturb whatever seniors are lingering. Rayburn begins to slink back away into the unlit areas of the office. Monoma, you know what they say about early birds? Rayburn, huffing under his breath, you should hear the one about the cat. As in curiosity, killed the cat. Interior Monoma's cubicle. Monoma does not hear this comment as he sits down at his desk. He checks the clock and sees he still has 10 minutes until he has to punch in. Yet he grabs some papers next to his desk and begins working anyway, scribbling away with a quill. Senior Auditor Monroe pokes her head into Monoma's cubicle, holding a trash bag of beer bottles. She smiles at him. Although looking closely, you can tell she has also been here all night. He turns around on his spinny chair to look at her. Monroe, early again, huh, Monoma? He scratches his head bashfully. Monoma, well, when am I not? She puts her hands on her hips and shakes her head. Monroe, tisk tisk, you youngins, you'd know if you're gonna start work early, you should at least punch in. Monoma, but we still have 8 more minutes until opening. It wouldn't be right. Monroe, Monoma. Monroe's about to interject, but Rayburn stumbles along behind her, mumbling and grumbling. Rayburn, she's got a fucking headache. He's grumbling about his headache. Because he's Monroe, and that's my cue. Monoma rolls over on his chair and peers behind Monroe. We see Rayburn drunkenly leaving out of the CAO double doors, knocking down a few sheets of paper and patting his pockets for a lighter. Monoma, is he okay? Monroe waves her hand dismissively. He's fine. Sometimes all the paperwork gets to you, you know? Monoma says, right. Sorry guys, there's a lot of reading. Do you feel like, is this like story time? You should probably do your chores while you're watching this. or something. She gives him a wink and a wave before following Rayburn. Monoma rolls back over to his desk. He picks up his quilt again and checks the time. There's still 5 more minutes. He looks from his paperwork and back to the clock a few more times before grabbing his ID card from his satchel and walking outside of his cubicle. Interior CAO hallway. Monoma stands in front of the punch-out machine, card in hand, and looks up at the clock. 3 minutes remain until the office opens. He takes a deep breath and clutches the card in his hand, looking at the machine. We see shots of Monoma from different angles as each second of the clock ticks away. This is my note. This is a high anxiety spike moment, potentially some obsessive thoughts over the sequence, highly dramatized. That's just for the show. Monoma waits until the CAO bell rings and the lights flicker on, indicating its opening before giving a relieved sigh. He holds his chest as he swipes his badge on the reader. Right after him, Auditor Alice swipes her own badge, followed by Auditor Irvin. Monoma jumps slightly as the two briefly nod their heads. Good morning. Monoma. Oh, good morning, Alice. Irvin, I didn't even hear you come in today. Irvin grunts, heading upstairs into a different part of the building. Alice shrugs but pats his shoulder as she walks past. Alice, from where we were standing, you seemed quite fixated on the machine this morning. Monoma, I'm not reading this. I can't read my son's corny lines. It's not serious. I need to smoke another joint before I do that She disappears behind her own cubicle before he can defend himself. Interior Monoma's cubicle. Monoma rolls back into his chair energetically. He opens his journal, laying it out beside all his paperwork. He quickly jots down a note, punched it on time +1, and then gets straight to work. Oh my god, congestion girls. Hold on. We see Monoma working until 8:40 when the CAO doorbell rings, and we can hear chatter from Auditor Pansy and Yasuo as they leisurely make their way into the building. We can see the two men passing Monoma's cubicle. Pansy stops and pokes his head in, leaning over its frame. He has a toothpick in his mouth, which he's chewing idly. Wanama looks over. I keep rubbing my nose, but the congestion is not getting better. I feel like it's actually getting worse. Okay, whatever. Pansy! Hey, rookie, did you hear about the news coming from Nobility this morning? Wanama smiles awkwardly. Good morning, Pansy. Wanama tilts his head slightly, looking confused. News? News for the CAO? I don't remember filing anything from the estate. For the CAO? Hell no. News for me. Nobility's having one of them public galas again, but the scoop is that General Leon's bookkeeper is going to be there, and you know what that means. Mono is smiling to be polite, but the look on his face says otherwise. I do? It means that's my in. The bookkeeper, don't know it, but he's my ticket straight out of the office and into the big leads. Bookkeeping for Nobility is still way up from bookkeeping for the CAO, I'll tell you that. Monoma, right. Pansy, and you never know, connect with the bookkeeper, you may connect with the chef, and connect with the chef you connect with before Pansy can go on. Yasuo pokes his head in as well. Yasuo, morning run. Monoma, good morning to you too, Yasuo. Yasuo pinches Pansy's ear, much to the man's displeasure. Is this idiot regaling you with his delusions of grandeur again? Pansy, oi, they ain't delusions. You just watch. I'm leaving you in the dust first when I get out of here. Yasuo, sure. Yasuo rolls his eyes. Let's leave Goody Two Shoes here to get to work. You wouldn't have to play catch up, right, rookie? I don't know why I made him so mean. I made everyone I made Yasuo kind of mean in the first draft. It's the first draft, guys. He slings an arm over Pansy and the two continue chatting as they walk off. Monoma sits at his desk, staring at the empty entrance for a moment. Right. He rolls back around in his chair and his quill scratches again as he gets back to work. We go back to snippets of Monoma's day. At 9 o'clock, Rayburn and Monroe both return to Monoma's cubicle. We see Monroe smiling as she wheels 2 carts of paperwork while Rayburn stands in the doorway reading a newspaper. Monroe, here are your carts for the day. Rayburn holds up the newspaper so that the front is fully visible. We can see a headline with both heirs and generals standing together and a news headline which reads, New heirs, new hope. Arkvale's estates continue to forge alliance in historic treaty. Rayburn, voiceover. Nobility will be calling for an auditor any day now to go down and double check everything is going smoothly at the estate. We assigned you a bunch of Lumen usage reports around the area to file before the field audit on the houses. Monroe, it's all pretty standard, just skim through it for us, okay? Give us a ring if anything. Rayburn, yeah, if you get confused or find something strange, call us before you file anything important. Monoma, right. They exit the office and Monoma immediately starts on one card of work. At 10:15, okay, the numbers are written because I was writing the script on my iPad. And my iPad also had a water related incident. So sometimes the numbers are, and I will be editing them when I do. Irvin walks past Monoma's cubicle wearing his satchel, quickly followed by Pansy following him, lugging his own paperwork cart. Pansy, Irvin, hey, wait up, you're taking me with you. Irvin, piss off, won't you? We hear the door shut, and Pansy takes the opportunity to let himself inside, prompting Monoma once again to spin around in his chair. Pansy, hey rookie, Irvin's taking me with him on the field today. Ain't I lucky? Monoma, yeah, that's Pansy. Be a right friend and file these for me sometime today, won't you, bud? I really gotta bounce. Irvin's waiting for me. You understand, right? Monoma, Pansy, thanks, kid. Pansy promptly kicks the cart into Monoma's cubicle, which hits the wall and clanks slightly on impact, sending a few papers flying. Before Monoma can reply again, Yasuo appears with his own cart. And while you're at it, he too sends his paperwork cart into Monoma's cubicle, which clanks into the other one, sending more papers scattering. He walks over to Monoma and ruffles his hair, which also tilts Monoma's glasses to one side of his face. Yasuo, thanks for being such a good sport. Pansy, damn, Irvin's leaving us. Yasuo, no way in hell. Irvin. The two men race out of the room, Yasuo knocking even more paperwork off Monoma's desk as he exits. The sheets fly down as we hear the door shutting over a shot of Monoma sitting in his chair silently. We close up on his face, glasses tilted, paper atop his head, looking wholly unimpressed. He grumpily rolls back over to his desk, picking up the quill and scribbling in his journal. +1 for being a good sport. Yay me. Diva. groans, resting his head in his hands. Monoma takes a deep breath and sits back in his chair. Monoma, well, someone has to do it. Okay, big text. Get ready, everyone. Monoma sits up and cracks his knuckles, and then begins diligently working, scribbling away at papers and then filing them neatly. We see a stack of organized files build up on his desk, and stacks of paperwork being organized on the cards. Sometimes we will see a shot of a relevant image / clipping associated with the dialogue on the cases one was filing. As time passes, we occasionally see one of the other 6 CAO members outside of his door not working. At some point, Yasuo and Pansy come back and gossip near the punch machine. Irvin comes back in, he drops the satchel and goes upstairs. He returns with some files, tucks them back in, and leaves. Monroe and Rayburn occasionally stumble down the stairs or can be heard laughing, etc. Every time he finishes a file or a stack, he logs a +1 in his journal. Monoma voiceover. 220 years ago, during a temporary period of cooperation, Dust Metal General the Pacifier and Gold Eyes General the Enforcer collaborated on creating an institution that would soothe the anxieties of Arkvale's citizens at a time where tensions around magic and its usage were high. Arkvale's Central Auditing Office, the CAO, was founded, and the first generations of auditors graduated from the academy, going on to enforce lumen laws around Arkvale, ensuring magic and its source are used equitably and ethically. Even during these periods where the estates were in active conflict, the CAO provided citizens a place to report their concerns and give them security. As auditors, it is our job to work hard and serve diligently, not just to keep Arkvale safe, but its people. Thank you for the speech, Monoma. We might have to cut that. So, at 11:30, we see Monoma reading through a paper, his eyes scanning over the words carefully. The document details the case of a vendor a citizen had flagged in Rivers Keep. Capital R girl. The citizen said that the weaponry resembled Bosch enhancement. The site looked shady and detailed a few incidents where the weapons recovered from said manufacturer appeared to be highly dangerous. He reads the vendor's name and the items it sells. He flags the shop as valid for a field investigation, but pauses as he looks closely at their manufacturer. Gold Eyes Industries? He double checks, adjusting his glasses. When did Gold Eyes Industries start producing lumen weaponry? I don't know why I'm talking like that. It's because I'm congested. Oh my god, hold on. Okay, let's try that again. When did Gold Eyes Industries start producing lumen weaponry? That's right. Enunciate, girl. Okay, sorry, I got sneezing fit and got distracted. He double checks over it again and then stands clicking his pen anxiously at the discrepancy. I don't know what this means. Starts. That's probably what I meant. He double checks over again and then starts clicking his pen anxiously at the discrepancy as he stares down at the paper. I never read any reports about Gold Eyes Industries being given clearance to make lumen weaponry. There's no way I missed it. I'm positive I would have read it. There's no way I wouldn't have double checked something like that. I should file this, but if I file it with everything else, it'll take too long for it to get clearance. Monoma doesn't notice Monroe passing his cubicle holding a garbage bin. We see her semi out of focus, watching him mutter to himself about how to file it. The shot focuses on her as she knocks. Monroe, need some help there, kiddo? Monoma is startled slightly as he turns to face her. Monoma, oh, Monroe, I just found this discrepancy, but it'll take too long to get to if I file it normally, so. Monroe, let me take a look-see. He hesitates, but he hands her the paper. She reads it over. Something very briefly flashes in her eyes, but it's hardly noticeable. She smiles and pats his shoulder. Monroe, I'll talk to Ray and we'll take care of it for you. Monroe, it was Monoma. Whoa. Are you sure? Monroe, of course, that's what your seniors are for. You, of all people, should know the Rule 1 of the Code of Conduct, right, Monoma? Monoma straightens his posture and nods. Monoma, right, if I'm unsure, I should page for a senior. Monroe nods, waving the paper in the air dismissively. Monroe, that's right. This is important stuff. Even if it's minor, don't go making filing decisions you're unsure about on your own. Monoma nods apologetically. Monoma, I'm sorry. Monroe ruffles his hair. Anything else you need me to drop off in the meantime? Monoma hands her some files from his desk. These are all finished already. Monroe, geez, you'd think with how much you look into these, it would take you longer. He flushes and she laughs as she walks out of his cubicle. He turns back to his notebook. I broke conduct. Officer Monroe. Officer? Who the fuck? Senior. Yeah. Senior Monroe lightly scolded me, -2. I don't know who officer was. He frowns, but picks himself up by getting back to work and pushing harder. Monoma works for another half hour until the CAO bell dings, signifying lunch. He leans back in his chair, closing his eyes and sighing. Monoma, thank the gods, I'm starving. The CAO members take the opportunity to stretch out and exit their cubicles. Monoma swivels around in his chair and goes to grab his satchel. Monoma, book, lunch, tea. While he's double checking all his things, we see a paper plane hit the back of Monoma's head. Yasuo. Oh, Monoma. We see Yasuo standing behind a thoroughly annoyed looking Monoma whose brow twitches. He turns around with a polite smile and picks up the plane. Haha, very cute, Yasuo. Hey, you should be thankful I wrote this down for you. Monoma unfolds the plane and reads the list. You're really gonna eat all this? What? No, it's the office order, or it's the order for the office. We see Monoma continue to check the paper over. Yasuo impatiently taps his foot as Monoma reads the list over. We see a shot scrolling through the list with Chibi Monoma under it, looking even more annoyed. I understand picking your seniors up a sandwich every now and then, but this is seriously getting ridiculous. And he smelled meringue wrong. Wait a minute, isn't all of this gonna be kind of expensive? Monoma checks the clock as his stomach rumbles. Yasuo sighs, leaning against the doorway. If you're worried about eating, pick yourself up something while you're at it. The whole office is hungry. The title of this YouTube video is gonna be Sick Victorian Child Reads Out Unfinished Shitty Show Script. God damn it. We see a shot of Monoma glancing back towards his journal. Despite all the other pluses, the only thing highlighted are the 2 points he lost earlier. He folds the letter back and tucks it into his pocket. Yasuo smiles and knocks on the cubicle wall before disappearing. Yasuo, out of sport. Exterior CAO building. Monoma places his packed sandwich on his desk and throws his satchel over his shoulder. He swipes his keycard, exits the CAO double doors, and begins walking at a brisk pace down a nearby hill. As he ventures down the hill, we can see the 2 noble estates faintly in the distance under Arkvale's suns. Monoma arrives at the bottom of the hill to a crosswalk. Despite the lack of vehicles or foot traffic in the area, Monoma waits for the signal to allow him to cross. Okay, this is the part of the script where I remember that I'm working on the show by myself and I don't have to go into just excruciating detail about everything. It helps in this section to do so because it's the intro and I would like to know the most about the beginning, but the rest of this is I would say fairly quicker, except for the parts when they're not. Exterior, old lady bakery. Monoma visiting a small bakery. He's looking at the list given to him by Yasuo and purchasing a pastry. The shopkeep is an old granny who's bagging his items. She hands them to him and he fishes for some chips. Coins are called chips in my universe. Chips and papers. You wouldn't understand. Out of his wallet. Monoma, thank you, ma'am. Granny, anytime theory. Exterior town street. Monoma walks down the quiet street with a paper bag containing the sweets in one hand and the list in the other. A close-up shot of a ball flying into frame. It knocks Monoma in the arm. Monoma, ow, hey! Monoma rubs his arm. He turns his head and the expression on his face softens as he sees 2 hybrid children running towards him across the street. They pause and call out to him. Hybrid 1, sorry, mister. Monoma sets down the bag briefly to pick up the ball and throw it back to the kids. Monoma, here. Hybrid 1 catches it. The 2 wave to Monoma from across the street. Hybrid 2, thank you. Monoma picks the bag up and waves his hand. Of course. Monoma continues to the end of the street in the area. It's notably not very populated. Quick shots of Monoma stopping at 3 different small food stalls, accumulating various bags. Downward shot of Monoma holding the list, some bags in hand, and some near his feet. We cut to a shot of him looking miserable holding the list. Monoma, I seriously hope the CAO reimburses its employees. We see him turn to look back out onto the CAO building. Wide shot of Monoma looking out to the massive hill leading up to the CAO, that of which is very intimidating. Monoma adjusts his glasses and sighs. Exterior hill shot. We see Monoma slowly fighting his way uphill with all the bags of food in his hand. He very shakily crawls across the frame and pants as he struggles. He probably almost slips. Interior CAO. The shot lingers on the clock, ticking to 12:55. Immediately after, we hear the door open and cut to a disheveled, out-of-breath Monoma stumbling into the doors of the CAO with everyone's lunches. The shot is framed in the hallway where Yasuo was the first to roll out of his cubicle stretching. Yasuo, yawning. I put, he's a cat, so it's probably more like a meow yawn. That's so unimportant. Rookie's back. Alice rolls into focus behind him out of her own cubicle. She adjusts her glasses, despite it being almost the end of lunch. Monoma, sorry about that. Monroe and Rayburn come down the stairs and everyone exits their cubicles as Monoma starts handing out their lunches one by one. Monoma, so, noodles for Alice. Alice, thank you. Monoma, cheesecake for Pansy. Pansy just knocks Monoma slightly in the shoulder, notably the same shoulder which he was knocked in earlier, with a grin. Fish tacos for Yasuo. Yasuo ruffles his hair, I'm starving. Monoma, sushi for Monroe. Thanks for picking up for us again, kiddo. She also ruffles his hair. Monoma, salmon on rice for Rayburn. Thanks for the food. He ruffles Monoma's hair the hardest. Close-up shot of Monoma looking at the list. And we hear a sound and see a shot of Irvin entering the office. Monoma holds up the bag he purchased at the pastry shop. Lemon meringue for Irvin. Irvin gives Monoma a firm nod as he accepts the food. He walks down the hallway and disappears into his own cubicle. The CAO bell rings, signifying lunch is over. Wide shot of Monoma exhaustedly swiping his key card. I should get something to drink, actually. We're back, everyone. I have a drink, so I'll be sipping on my drink. Interior Monoma's cubicle, he flops. I don't know what lops is. He flops onto his chair with an exhausted sigh. His stomach rumbles and he puts his head on his desk. Monoma, voiceover. Ugh, walking up always takes longer than I thought. A dream bubble appears as Monoma begins to imagine eating his lunch. I just put lunch. This was my note. He goes very into detail about whatever this lunch is. At the end of fantasizing about his meal, he decides against it because of the mess it would get on his paperwork. Pulls out his journal. He quickly logs his scores from his deeds earlier. Bought everyone lunch +2, returned ball to kids +1 bonus. He quickly shuts his notebook and gets back to work. Just a couple more hours. The shot lingers on a wide, slightly overhead time lapse of Monoma working away in his cubicle, filing as quickly but as thoroughly as he can. As it gets closer and closer to 3, we see Monoma progressively getting more exhausted. He begins to slouch and his hair is rustled, and by the time Rayburn pokes his head in to check on him, he's nearly face first on his desk, scribbling away with his quill. Rayburn raps on the wall. Rayburn, you look like hell, rookie. Take your break. Monoma, will do. Monoma carefully stacks the remainder of his paperwork neatly. We see a quick shot of him swiping his ID card at the punch machine and then enter back into his office. He quickly grabs his lunch and opens it happily. Finally, Monoma grabs his thermos and his book. There's a shot of Monoma working slightly out of focus behind a framed picture of Monoma and Takeru. Writing, takes a bite. This is just like, oh, he's writing, and then he takes a bite of his sandwich, like behind the framed picture. We cut back to him punching in at 3:30 in a much better mood. Interior CAO building evening. We see another shot of Monoma stacking papers. I don't know why I was tired. Muttering absentmindedly to himself about something. At 5 o'clock, we hear the bell to the CAO ring, shortly followed by the sounds of the members punching out. Alice is the first one to pass Monoma's cubicle. She waves to him wordlessly. He waves back with a smile. Yasuo and Pansy are next to pass the door. Pansy has his hands behind his head and Yasuo follows behind him. Pansy. Geez, what a shift. Yasuo. Not like you did much but gossip about the tabloids anyway. Pansy. Oh yeah? And how much work did you get done? Yasuo. Ain't it about the quality of your character? Pansy. Piss off with that. Irvin quietly passes shortly after, sparing Monoma a quick glance before punching out and leaving. Monroe and Rayburn are the next to come down the stairs. They both peek into Monoma's cubicle. Monroe. Still at it, huh? Rayburn. With this damn kid, he'll be at it for as long as he needs to be. Monoma adjusts his glasses. I still have 2 cards to go, so I'll have to stay behind a little extra. Rayburn, geez, why not file the rest tomorrow for once? Monroe, if he wants to finish his filing, let him. He likes to be thorough. She knocks on the wall. Well, don't mind us. We're just checking in. You know where to find us if you need. Monroe promptly drags Rayburn back up the stairs. Monoma turns back to his work. We see a brief shot of the sun beginning to set over the CEO, and at 7 o'clock, Monoma finally sets his quill down and rests his face on his desk. We see a close-up shot of his face looking up at the clock. He quickly logs a +1 in his journal for a hard day's work and then packs his stuff. He walks to the punch-out machine and swipes his card one last time. There's a shot of him looking up the stairs as he's about to say goodbye to Monroe and Rayburn, but muffled voices can be heard behind the door, those of drinking and partying, mind you, and he decides against it. Exterior CAO. Monoma sits atop the hill that the CAO is on, overlooking Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes in the distance. He pulls out his journal, and there are a series of shots as Monoma's eyes scan through as he flips through the pages, circling numbers. At the end of the page, he writes down his final score. Monoma, score. I didn't want to do the math at that time, so I still haven't done that. He flips back to the previous day. His score is much lower than yesterday's. He closes the book and sighs. Monoma, there's always tomorrow. Final wide shot of the landscape. Monoma, everything can always be better tomorrow. We end by seeing a close-up shot as the suns lower over the estates. It lingers on the darkness. A few seconds later, they are just peeking behind the estates, and the frame splits into 2 shots of each. Dust Meadow on the right and Gold Eyes on the left. Okay, guys. We made it through Monoma's day. I'm really proud of us. That was certainly something. Okay, we're into Kamiya and Anzai's day now. We've made it to the second part of the script. I wouldn't say that this is Act 2 yet. Interior, Kamiya and Anzai's bedrooms. Right. So you'll see right and left, that's just for the different size because I want to differentiate them very clearly in the shot. So sometimes I do different things. I usually like merge them into one if they're doing the same, but if someone's doing something distinct, then I'll separate into right and left. Kamiya is awake 5 minutes before 5 a.m. She sits up in her bed and sits silently. She rubs her temples and takes a deep breath just before the alarms ring and the maids burst in at 5. Left. Anzai sleeps right in until 5 a.m. He grumpily opens his eyes and stretches out as his alarm rings and the butlers enter his bedroom. In both scenes, we can hear the clock ticking prior to the alarm. Just a note. The heirs both begin sitting up as curtains are drawn and lights begin to illuminate the room. Right. One of Kamiya's maids brings her a platter of oatmeal with fruit as well as some eggs. Caviar? She eats her breakfast and washes it down with juice as her maids fluff her pillows, draw the curtains, and take her empty dishes. Left. One of Anzai's butlers uncovers a platter of steak, eggs, and fish. His butlers hand him a handkerchief and stay on standby as they watch him pick out his breakfast. He gulps on a glass of milk and pushes the tray away from him as he's finished. The butlers promptly dispose of the mess. Both sets of staff iron the heirs' uniforms and then bow, excusing themselves in order to give the two privacy to change. There's a brief shot of the two heirs changing, Kamiya stepping into her pants and Anzai pulling his shirt over his head. The two heirs take off their bonnets and tie up their hair. Interior, Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes estates, long corridor, early morning. We cut to a shot of the heirs opening the doors to a line of servants waiting for them patiently outside. We see a wide shot of Kamiya and Anzai still on their respective sides, walking at a brisk pace, escorted right by their respective servants. There's a brief close-up shot of the sternness on both heirs' faces before cutting to a low shot of them walking through a larger door which leads to each estate's courtyard. I put this note of perchance Kamiya hesitates ever so slightly before opening the door. Ever so slight. Exterior, Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes courtyard, early morning. Oh, my life. I had to fight. The time is now about 5:50 a.m. and we see a wide, oh my god, guys, the typos. A wide shot of the courtyard with the two heirs standing in front of their respective magical advisors who are both holding a clipboard. Magical advisors, both sides, are you ready to commence? Both heirs nod firmly. There's such a big space. Okay, hold on. Now, I actually don't want to read this because it's more for me because this is a very animation heavy portion. They don't really talk here, and so it's not really important. It's just magic. If you want to read it, you can. There it is, but I don't think you guys need to know about that. You can watch the show when it comes out. The next thing we need to know is we cut to a brief shot of the advisors flicking a syringe, followed by each heir's blood being drawn. We then see a shot of the heirs standing at attention, waiting for the results. Magical advisors both sides, satisfactory. Both heirs nod their heads and then are promptly escorted by a servant back inside. Interior, Kamiya and Anzai's bedrooms. At 7 o'clock, both Kamiya and Anzai are sitting back in their rooms wearing robes in front of their vanities. A group of servants swarm the both of them as they get the heirs ready for their day. The shot centers on both heirs and does not move as the servants complete their tasks. Kamiya sits still as she allows one maid to fix her hair, another to put on her socks and shoes, and another to powder her face. There are a few other maids ironing her uniform. When the maids are done ironing, she stands up and they help her step into her dress. One adjusts her tie. Left. Anzai allows his butlers to tend to him as he puts a face mask on and lays back while the rest of the butlers flat iron his hair and iron his uniform. There are two butlers on either side of him, filing and varnishing Anzai's nails. When his uniform is ready, he takes off the face mask, steps into his pants and let his butlers slip on his jacket and shoes, adjust his tie, and make him look presentable. Both heirs get a brief glance in the mirror before they are escorted out of their rooms by their servants and onto their balcony. Exterior, Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes balconies, morning. A servant hands both Kamiya and Anzai, I don't know why he disappeared from the narrative, Kamiya and Anzai a folder and bows to excuse themselves from the balcony. There's a close-up shot of both heirs opening the folder and taking out a sheet of paper. They step over to the ledge of the balcony, which overlooks their respective estates. A small microphone is located there. We're getting up to the recent things that I wrote like yesterday and today. And each heir clears their throat as they prepare to give the morning announcement. Kamiya and Anzai both. Good morning, Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes. Gold Eyes. The split shot now merges into one for the speech, focusing on both heirs as they deliver the announcements. I don't necessarily know if that's true. We'll see. Kamiya. It is now 7:30, and as the suns rise once again over our beautiful districts, Anzai, we encourage you, our citizens, to start your days to work hard as we continue to strive towards the Arkville of tomorrow. Kamiya. For all Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes residents, we once again project clear skies across our district, the possibility of rain towards the evening going towards River's Keep. Anzai. As our house merge rapidly approaches, the Gold Eyes and Dust Meadow estates are committed to ensuring that we address any inquiries or concerns. Kamiya. Our citizens are our priority. Upon the conclusion of announcements, Anzai, Shikaro, and I will be participating in a multitude of interviews, all of which will be published in the following papers as of 12:15 p.m. sharp. Anzai. Arkvale Times, The Daily Outlook, Dust Meadow Daily, The Big Catch, as well as the Two Sons Tribunal. Kamiya. We appreciate your patience and trust in our leadership during this time. Anzai. There are no more scheduled events for the rest of the day. Shortly following our interviews with the press, Kamiya and Komodo and I will continue routine patrol throughout Arkvale and see to it that the streets are clean and safe. Kamiya. As we continue to mend and grow the relationships between our estates, we want to remind you to continue to look forward to a brighter future. This concludes our morning announcements. The PR section is done. The shot split again as both Kamiya and Anzai step down from their podiums. There is a shot of two both standing back facing the camera looking out upon their estates. Maids quickly collect them. Short shots of their feet briskly walking or something. I'm not really sure about this scene yet. The shots finally merge as the two heirs enter together in the same frame to do various amounts of press. The next few shots are very hectic, filled with shots of camera flashes and microphones being pointed at the heirs. Overall, a lot of fuss. I don't have a background for this yet, but I have to make one. Reporter 1, Anzai, Kamiya over here. Reporter 2, Miss Komodo, look this way. Reporter 3, Mr. Shikaro, turn here. Kamiya, one at a time, please. They answer some questions, and Anzai flashes a few grins and some waves. There are a few more cuts of flashes and fuss. Reporter number 4, Mrs. Komodo, over here. Kamiya points at reporter 4. Kamiya, yes, you. Reporter 4, now that we are so close to this peace initiative being complete, one that will be historical to Arkvale, are you considering merging the families as well as the estates? Kamiya, sorry, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Reporter 3, are there currently any marriage plans in the works between you and Anzai? Anzai's eyebrow twitches and he begins to step forward. Now wait a minute. Kamiya gracefully places a hand on his shoulder to stop him. She turns to the reporter and smiles. Her PR smile is the note that I made. Kamiya, currently the estates don't have any comment, but if there are any arrangements for a potential union between the heirs, the public will be informed in a timely manner. She eyes the clock before turning away from the crowd and walking back to the building. Kamiya, no further questions. Reporters, wait, Kamiya, wait. Anzai lingers for a moment before following behind her with a dismissive wave. Okay, we're here, guys. This is home stretch. We're here at the stuff that I wrote today. So we don't have much left. We're doing good for time. I should plug in my laptop, actually. Okay. Exterior, Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes neutral meeting crowd. I don't necessarily exactly know what this is because I wrote this today. We cut to an establishing shot of a large gazebo structure surrounded by elegant statues and accented by floral features. Servants from each estate surround the area, both keeping watch and tending to the nobility inside. Kamiya and Anzai, escorted by two maids, are led into the gazebo. We see them both give deep, tense bows. Felicity, Komodo, and Leon Shikaro are sat on either side of the table, Felicity on the right and Leon on the left. Kamiya and Anzai both. Good morning, mother/father. We see Felicity take a sip of her tea and dismiss the maids. Kamiya and Anzai both stand at attention until Leon speaks. Leon, sit. The two heirs assume their positions next to their parents. We see another wide shot of the families sitting across from each other. Felicity, voiceover. Things are moving slowly. That's not what she said. Things are moving along smoothly. I'd say we're just about ready to send for an auditor. Leon? The shot lingers on Leon, who sternly takes a sip of his coffee, with Anzai glancing towards him, slightly out of focus. Leon, I won't say I'm entirely satisfied by our current state of affairs. We see some shots of both Kamiya and Anzai looking slightly perplexed as he speaks. Leon, however, we can't afford to falter. Felicity takes another sip of her tea and chuckles. Felicity, I'm assuming this is your version of a go-ahead. She turns to Kamiya, who sits up slightly straighter. How has Arkvale looked on patrol? Kamiya, everything around Dust Meadow and Gold Eyes has been standard, ma'am. There have been a few minor altercations surrounding River's Keep perimeter on the north side of the river, but Onsai and I made sure to handle it swiftly. Felicity, in the valley? Kamiya, quiet. Felicity. Leon gives a sharp look, turning to Onsai. Leon, do not engage the south side of the river as you have been, and keep your eyes peeled. If you have even an inkling of suspicion, handle it. Anzai, yes sir. Felicity taps her nails on the counter pensively. Felicity, Kamiya, Anzai, I would like you to patrol backwards today, starting from River's Keep. Once we conclude lunch, I'll be contacting the CAO to send an auditor to the estates. They should be finished by the time you reach back to Dust Meadow. She faces the two heirs. Felicity, is that understood? Kamiya and Anzai both. Yes, ma'am. Felicity, Leon, any objections? He just grunts. Felicity, good. In a few days, when the audit is processed, we will continue as planned. She waves off the two heirs. You're dismissed. Kamiya and Anzai get up from the table and bow towards their parents once again. They exit the doors of the gazebo, escorted by some servants. A butler refills Leon's coffee cup as he strokes his beard. Another maid sets a plate of food in front of Felicity. She watches him for a second until she speaks. Felicity, what's the issue now? Leon, you know as well as me that we're treading a fine line. Felicity. She takes a bite off her plate. Felicity, what's wrong? Are you nervous about the CAO digging into your affairs? Leon, my affairs are completely in order. I suggest prior to your call, you ensure that yours will show the same. Felicity shoots him a glare. The CAO will not be an issue. She flags over a maid. Felicity, ring Rayburn. Interior CAO building. We cut to a shot of all the CAO seniors gathered around the back of the building. The members are all gathered around Rayburn, who is sitting on a table, and Monroe, who is standing next to him. We can hear some muttering and low chatter over the shot. Monoma is in his own cubicle, filing paperwork as usual. Stacks some papers together and looks towards the entrance of his cubicle, listening to the discussion. Rayburn, voiceover. Seriously? None of you want to go? We see a shot of Pansy pushing past Yasuo. Pansy, I said I want to go. Yasuo, hey! Rayburn, over my dead body I'm sending you. Monroe pinches her forehead. Monroe, nobility only sent for one auditor. If we send you, the whole organization is going to have to go to make sure you do your damn job. Pansy sits down looking dejected. The shot focuses on Alice and Irvin, who are seated beside each other. Irvin has his arm crossed. Monroe, come on Irvin, won't you reconsider? He grunts. Irvin, I'm not going all the way up there just for a big load of busy work. Rayburn, great. Pansy's an idiot, the rest of you refuse, and our only field auditor doesn't want to go. What the hell do I even pay you for? We see as Monroe sighs while Rayburn continues to scold the seniors behind her. She begins to walk down the hallway, but before she turns to walk up the stairs, she catches a glimpse of Monoma in her peripheral. She pauses a moment. A second later, we cut to Monoma rolling around in his chair as Monroe knocks on the cubicle wall. Monoma, oh, Monroe. Monroe, hey kiddo, you ready for your first big job? We cut back to where all the seniors are, all of which either look confused or surprised as they gather around Monoma. Yasuo, seriously? You're gonna send the runt to audit the merge? Alice, he's only a junior. Are General Leon and Felicity gonna be okay with a youngster poking around the estates like that? Pansy, forget that. Why are you trusting him over me? Monroe, goodness, where is your faith? She gestures toward Monoma proudly. Monroe, if he doesn't get on the field, how's he gonna learn? Besides, it's Monoma. He knows the paperwork inside out. The field's not much different. Yasuo, but isn't the noble merger kind of far from an entry-level audit? Rayburn, since you have so much to say, anyone want to volunteer in his place? The room falls silent. Rayburn sighs and pinches his forehead. Rayburn, rookie, do you think you can get it done? The room shifts its gaze onto Monoma, who jumps slightly. Monoma, well, yeah, of course. Like Monroe said, it shouldn't be too different from the paperwork, right? Monroe slaps his back firmly. Attaboy, I'll give you a quick rundown and then send you right off. The members of the CAO are silent for a moment before looking back towards Monoma and shrugging. Alice is the first to stand up. It's decided then. Monoma, good luck. She pats Monoma on the shoulder before walking into her own cubicle. Irvin follows her. Yasuo is next. He grins as he passes Monoma. Yasuo, don't fuck it up, hey newbie? Pansy simply sulks and disappears into his cubicle. Monoma gulps. The shot lingers on Rayburn, Monoma, and Monroe, standing still in the room. Monoma, right. We cut to some shots of Monoma assembling his tools for the audit. He picks up the lumen measuring device, his audit journal, a report, a pen, and his CEO badge. He clicks the pen before throwing it into his satchel. Monoma voiceover. Lumen detector check, auditing journal check, merger report check, pen check, badge check. He throws all the items into his satchel, he puts on a cloak, and starts out the door. Exterior CAO day. There's a brief shot of Monroe and Rayburn in their office. Monroe, with a W? Monroe is sitting near the window with a cigarette in her hand, and Rayburn is still rubbing his temples, sitting at his desk, a cigarette in his own mouth. Rayburn. Damn seniors. Monroe glances out the window and catches Monoma just about to walk down the hill. Monroe. He's leaving. Monoma. Monoma hears his name being called, and he looks over to the CAO to see Rayburn and Monroe waving at him. Monroe. Good luck. We see a downward wide shot of a faraway Monoma waving back. Monoma. Thank you. He turns back around to start his journey. Monroe rests her head on the sill watching him leave. Rayburn relights his cigarette in the background. Rayburn. Good kid. Exterior Arkvale. We see some shots of Monoma as he ventures off to the estates. He visits the small town and waves at the granny shopkeep. He crosses a bridge which leads from Arkvale Minor to Arkvale Major. As he gets closer to the Dust Meadow estate, we see the scenery change and the environment become more populated. As he travels, we can hear Monroe's voice explaining his job. Monroe, voiceover. Don't stress, this will be nice and straightforward. Inside of the report are all the listed areas in each estate that you have to check. All you have to do is use your little lumen detector to scan the areas and make sure that the reading does not show any irregularities or discrepancies. For every area you check, note down the LTD reading and any important observations you find. Once you're all finished, you can wrap up and report back to me and Ray so we can process your work back at the office. Piece of cake. It's really just a standard field audit, so check what you have to check and move on. You'll be done in no time. Exterior, Dust Meadow, and Gold Eyes Estates Day. There's a low shot as Monoma stands not too far from the tall front gates leading to each of the massive estates. He takes another gulp. Monoma. Right. Piece of cake. He nervously approaches the gates where a row of guards quickly intercepts his path. He jumps. Guard 1. State your business. Monoma. I'm with the CAO. Nobility sent for an auditor today to assist with the merge. Guard 2. Badge. Monoma. Right. Monoma quickly reaches into his satchel, fumbling with his badge. He holds it up to guard number 2, who inspects it. Guard number 1 nods to another who pulls a lever and opens the gates. The 2 guards move aside. Guard number 1. Staff will escort you around inside. Monoma nods and shuffles past. Thank you. And that's where we are with the script. So, I'm currently pretty happy with where it is. Sorry I was so sick reading this. My next steps are basically I have to draw up a little thing of the estates, like a little map, so that I can properly write the audit. I actually don't know what he audits. I don't know what the T is right now, so I'm gonna try and work on that today and hopefully write a little bit more. I'm really trying not to get hung up over the details. That hill scene, or where Monoma is going to get the lunch for his exterior superiors. I was stuck right here for a couple weeks because I really wanted to know all the details of a scene that really didn't matter at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Something that I could revisit and come back to. So I'm trying to, when I'm writing the pilot, just move on and not get stuck on the details. But for the audit, I do have some stuff to know before I can properly write it, like the rooms he's in and etc. But the good news is that meeting the auditor is done, and hopefully by the end of the week, I don't know if that's true, but hopefully by then the Noble Estates will also be done. We're currently in D, the audit begins, and E, F, and G are where all the fun things happen. So I'm really excited to get to that. I just have to push past this audit just a little bit, and then when we get to discrepancy indicated, that's where the fun part happens, and rising action is currently underway. That's good. So that's all. I'm gonna try and get this video edited. I hope I get it edited and I hope people see it. So I'm gonna stop talking now and try and make it short. Okay, bye.